been needing to find a new apartment, which has not been easy with credit as bad as mine. Luckily, I found cosigning.com. They connected me with a cosigner who helped me get my dream apartment for me and my dog. I just paid a small fee and was able to move in fast. Get the cosigner you need for the apartment you want. Check out cosigning.com today.
It's not safe to work in journalism anywhere in the world right now. But in a country like Nigeria, it's extremely dangerous, especially if you're a stunningly beautiful woman, no husband, no children, you're alone. Men are going to pursue you either as a love interest or as someone that they might need to silence because of your journalism. Either way, you're a target and you don't know why men are coming, but there's strength in numbers and there are benefits to being married or being in a relationship. When you're a single woman, you're automatically a target because even though everyone's telling you men and women are equal, we are not. You are not able to fight men. You're not able to defend yourself against men. You might think you're a woman, hear you roar. You've seen Avengers, you've seen all these other movies where women are beating the hell out of men that are my size. Good luck with that. But in real life, tragedy does happen. And unfortunately, this beautiful reporter down in Abuja, Nigeria, was the latest victim. Now, in her situation, it's more so a murder mystery because they're saying that armed men were breaking into her home, but they were confronted by security, and then everyone had a shootout. One of the guards was shot, but then she was trying to escape off the balcony, and they're saying that she failed. The initial reports were that she committed suicide, but now they're saying that it was possible that she was actually pushed off or thrown off. The reports are conflicting because, for one thing, only an American can talk freely about certain things, and even we have our limits on what we can say on channels like YouTube or these other sources, other platforms. Especially now that Israel just purchased TikTok, we're even limited on what we can say. I mean, you're free to say it, but they can limit your reach. They can demonetize you. They can penalize you. But in a country like Nigeria, you have to be especially careful because these women are reporters, and for all we know, they just made an example out of her. Being a journalist is dangerous because you have to, if you're a good journalist, you're an investigative journalist. You're going to look into things. You're going to ask questions. People do not always like being questioned. They don't like being exposed, especially if you're someone in power. Unfortunately, it seems like that could have been what happened with Sommie down in Abuja. This is a tribute to her, but they're going to talk to the police chief. But look at his body language. He's very nonchalant. And I mean, they're not showing us any camera footage from the building. She's a very high end news reporter. You would think she lived somewhere with very adequate security. How did these armed men get by security and get into a shootout with one guard? And how they even make it to her floor? How they get in the building? I mean, but these are questions you can ask in America. These are not questions you can necessarily ask in Nigeria. I've heard. I remember I've been to Africa. I've been to Africa. When you're in Nigeria, you have to move in a caravan. You get to a compound where you're staying. You're not supposed to go outside the compound. You're not supposed to leave. You got to be careful when you go to clubs or restaurants because kidnappings is that's just a thing that happens every day. Not like Mexico City, but very, very often. It's a very dangerous place to be. So you have to be very careful. When somewhere is that dangerous, to be a woman that is just living alone by yourself, and I mean, yeah, it could have been because of something you're reporting, but it could have just been somebody you just had a stalker, a fan, and they know you're alone. But it was multiple men, so it could have been coordinated. I guess some people understand that there are some things worse than death. A beautiful woman being kidnapped by a bunch of monsters. We all know what happens to women in those situations. So if she did jump, at least we understand why. a young woman, 30 years old. So let's hear. Let's see what the Nigerians from Arise News, her station. Let's see what they have to say.
Well, the Commissioner of Police, Federal Capital Territory Police Command, CP Ajawo Adewale, has extended his heartfelt condolences to the family, friends, and colleagues of Ms. Somtochukwu Christel Maduagwu, describing the incident as a cruel and senseless act that has no place in a sane society. The Commissioner of Police assured Nigerians that the command remains fully committed to ensuring that justice is served. He now joins us to shed more light on security challenges leading up to Sommie's death and what the FCT Police Command is doing to ensure safety in Nigeria's administrative capital. Good morning, sir, and thank you for joining us on the program this morning.
For this to happen in the administrative capital, the FTG, I believe, is alarming because this is a secured area with not just regular police, but there are military there as well. This building had armed security. This doesn't seem like it's just a regular robbery. The stakes are too high for the people that were going in. What was so valuable in this single woman's apartment that three men were going to risk their lives to go in there? This wasn't catching her while she's leaving work or this was them literally breaking into a fortress to get to this woman. So that's why this isn't adding up. And if you look at his face, I wonder, even if he knows anything, there's only so much he can say because, again, they're not allowed to speak freely there. That's why we have to protect our First Amendment here in the States.
Good morning, Oji. Happy Independence Day.
Thank you. Happy Independence Day. Some people celebrate today. Many are mourning. I'd like for you to help us understand the circumstances surrounding Sommie's death. Can you provide more details about the circumstances of the armed robbery that led to Sommie's death? What can you tell us about the preliminary investigations conducted so far? Also, has the command identified any suspects or persons of interest at this stage? Are there any leads being pursued?
Thank you so much. Let me start this way. FCT Command, once again, commiserate with the family of Sommie. Arise News family, entire Nigerians that are reasonably touched with this ugly incident. It was indeed a sad one. Very disturbing indeed. Regarding the circumstances surrounding the incident, to set the record straight, some hoodlum, armed robbers specifically, gain access into unique apartments where Sommie lives. A twin 3-story, 18-flat apartment around the Girishiri end of Katampe under Mabushi divisional area.
Kampate is, I guess, the city or the district, and he is from the FCT. And the reason I was thinking that this was looking like a kidnapping is because in that region, this is a very common occurrence. Gunmen, they're attacking trains. There's a lot of kidnapping here. They arrested the kingpin a couple of years ago. But in this particular area, they are known for kidnapping. So it doesn't seem like this was a home invasion. It seemed like they went in to get her and they were stopped. But that's a really tall order. And he still's not saying how they gained access, which is a red flag. I want to understand how they gain access to a secure building and make it to her floor. This is I'm sure this is a very high-end secured building. So I'm curious, was there somebody on the inside? Was it somebody who maybe was one of the security guards who worked there? Did he also work with them? There has to be some other explanations.
At this point in time, Two guards were on duty, security men. These are private guard. And one of them, who had the courage to challenge, sustained a gunshot. Under this condition, you know the panic that will have resulted from this kind of environment. Sommie actually occupied an apartment on the topmost floor of the building. And out of the fear,
Okay, so she lived on the top floor, an 8 unit. Let's see. He said there was 8 buildings. She's on the third floor. But look at that. There's one way in, one way out. So if they didn't come through this main gate, did they jump the wall? And what was their? How were they planning on getting? If they were robbing the house, how were they going to get the materials out? Did they bring transportation? We don't know, and they're not saying. But there's literally a security booth. There's 2 men on duty. How did they make it out of there and get up to her apartment? And they did, again, one of the security guards was shot. But how did they even get past this gate? One thing about Nigeria, it's because of the gangs and the other tribes, and they do have a lot of violence, and there are a lot of weapons. They have high security anywhere you go. Everyone has personal security. Again, you ride in caravans. So how did they get up to her apartment? How they get in?
she jumped down from that third story, the top floor.
If you look outside, it's all men. In these societies, women understand that the world is dangerous. But the more Western a society goes, the more free women feel. But with the more freedom as a woman that you have, the less security you have. You start feeling entitled to security. However, there are bad people out there that do not respect your entitlement. Men understand the dangers of the world. We have to interact and deal with other dangerous men every day, even for a living. That's why you're always supposed to be with your brothers, be with your father. And then when you meet a husband, he asks your father for your hand in marriage, and your father gives you to him because now you're under his protection. Now you're his responsibility. Now, when you forego that and you decide to go into the world and live life on your own, well, in a way, you're a target. And a gorgeous woman, and she's on television, she's famous there. I mean, it could have been just guys making advances at her and wanted her, but again, she's a journalist, so it could be there. I mean, there's so many different reasons people would have had to kidnap her. But if she was trying to escape, I don't see what the plan was. If that's one of the balconies, if she crawled over the balcony, where was she planning on going? There was nowhere to go. I mean, if she was going to jump down, that's it's a rock and a hard place, literally.
Consequences is what we have seen. It's so sad, so unfortunate.
Well, have you?
At last, this rescue was ready to the command control room. Policemen moved to the scene. What they could see, the unconscious body of Sommie on the floor. They picked her there and then and took her to my Tama General Hospital, where the doctor on duty tried as much as possible to see whether they can resuscitate her using the CPR. It's unfortunate. He couldn't make it. And that was the story. But what are we doing at our end here? We've set up a specific investigation team headed by the Deputy Commissioner of Police Investigation, which all the tactical components require to unravel the whole situation with a view to tracking down the culprit responsible for this dastardly act. The leads we are getting, we're already working on it. no stone will be left unturned to ensure that the perpetrators are tracked and brought to justice. And the result of the investigation will be made known to Nigeria. That is the situation for now.
Okay, so it was your men who took our darling Sommie to the hospital while she was unconscious. And, there were reports about the fact that she might had been needing some identification before treatment was administered to her. We had a correspondent on ground with that report as well. But I also know that in your press statement, you mentioned deploying in.
Wow, that's wild right there. They wanted her identification before they were treating her, I guess because they wanted to make sure she could afford treatment. It's not the same everywhere. Every country is not going to have the luxuries that we have in the West. They're not going to have them. So what she's alluding to is that there were possible delays in her treatment, which also could have led to her passing away. Because had she received treatment sooner, I mean, think about it. The police had to bring her to the hospital, so there was no paramedics, and none of the neighbors thought to pick her up and rush her to an ER. The police are the ones who took her. His soldiers took her to the hospital. And once she got to the hospital, there's another delay where they want to check her identification first, and it wasn't her treatment wasn't necessarily the top priority. Again, everything is not going to be the way it is in the West, unfortunately.
Intelligence and operational assets. What specific measures has the command put in place now to track down traitors? And also want to know if this incident was an isolated incident or have there been similar armed robbery cases in that area, that Katankwe area recently?
Okay. The FCT residents are witnesses to the success we have been recording in the recent past. In those days, Gishiri axis used to be a troublesome soul, but that was in the far past. To God be the glory. FCT command is particularly saddened with this incident that occurred on the night of 28th-29th of September, because the month of September was a month of major operational breakthrough for FCT command, with arrest, neutralization of bandits, recovery of weapons, arms and ammunition. Monday was to be a day we were to celebrate that one with a press briefing with our media team. Unfortunately, this sad incident neutralized everything, and everybody was so disturbed. So even
Notice that he's not answering her questions. He's changing the subject to, I guess he wants to move on and move past it. He doesn't want to talk about the investigation. He doesn't want to talk about what happened. I don't know if it's because he doesn't want to, but it seems like he can't. But it's again, you're not going to get the same type of service that you should expect in other parts of the world. Even other parts of the world, we have our issues too, just as bad.
in the most advanced world, security breach is something that could occur once in a while. But the thing is that how do we respond swiftly to the challenge? And that's what we are doing. That is what we are concerned with. Remaining focused to ensure that perpetrators are fished out and brought to justice.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner, thank you so much for your good work. It was said that they called the police and the police did not respond on time, also in that incident. So what's the response time on the police? I'm really excited to hear this your account, because we have not seen a note bearing the preliminary investigation by the police. We just saw a condolence message. So we want a detailed note so that we even know what we're dealing with, where we are thus far with the investigation, and where we need to go. But they said they called the police. The robbery happened at around from 3 a.m., but the response time of the police was appalling. What's supposed to be the response mechanism by the Nigerian police?
Thank you so much. See, the situation is this, all right? When was the call made to the police? Where was the location of the police team as at that point in time? What is the proximity? What is the nature of environment we are contending with? Okay, these are the factors that determine what time the police will arrive there. Okay, take notes that are not numbered. It's happening in so area. You need to place this one on the Google and see how you can navigate to that environment. These are things that determine happening in Mabushi. That area might be closer to Maitama than to Mabushi. But one son to Mabushi division. Mabushi division will be moving.
What he's basically saying is that she lived in a newly developed part of the city that's basically far away from police responders, police stations, and emergency services. So if you're in trouble and you're out in one of those areas, you're on your own until someone can arrive. But it's kind of like the same rules. You got to be your first line of defense. You don't need to be alone, especially if you're a woman. But if you do, you're taking a chance. And basically saying that she lived somewhere far away, not close enough for the police to arrive with haste. And it's, he had to use Google Maps just to figure out how to get there because it's a newly developed part of the town and they don't know their way around there pretty much. And that's why they had their own armed security there. But even one of them was shot by the alleged burglars. But I don't even think this was a burglary. What were they going to take your TV? Do people even do burglaries like that in Nigeria? They were probably going to take her with him. They were probably going to kidnap her.
It's on the basis of on proximity rule. So division move to the location. I think as at that point in time, the police got to that place 20 minutes after 3.
All right.
And the deed has been done.
Commissioner.
Okay, I'm with you.
All right. Thank you. Because of our time, let me ask you. A resident in that area said that within 3 months, about 8 estates have been robbed in that district alone. So we appreciate the fact that there will be investigations conducted in this particular incident. But how about if we had reports around that or security had been reinforced, we would not have this situation happen. So can you please share with us investigations that have happened around that area with security concerns? Very briefly, sir.
Thank you. When it's in a happen, you see so many theories coming up. In terms of presence and feasibility, I think Mabush is one area that's heavily covered by police presence. But these are developing, spreading area where you see buildings in the suburb coming up. You understand? All these are things being attended to, right? So the report that about 8 robbery incidents that happen, for every action that takes place, police take immediate reaction to address the situation. And that is what we are doing. And that is what we continue to do. We assure you just will be served and perpetrators will be tracked and they'll be brought to justice.
Okay,
thank you so much.
Well, so much for that. I mean, they haven't caught the guys who burglarized these other 8 estates that are out in that area. So it's not looking good for them finding out who did this to her. It's not like they have track people. It's kind of, the Wild West in a way. They're trying to do the whole digital ID thing, but it was more. But the whole track trace database requires infrastructure. Nigeria has been working on their infrastructure, but it's not complete. And again, this is a faraway area. Sometimes even electricity is sparse. They don't really. It's not 24/7. If you go to Ghana, for example, there are rolling blackouts, and you have to conserve electricity. So the infrastructure, even in their native language, the word for maintenance, they don't have a word for it. So if they do build infrastructure without proper maintenance, it fades away anyway. So they're just kind of, and it was once under the British, it was once a British colony, but after independence, it seems like it's going backwards and things are getting worse. And that's happening to a lot of the former colonies as well. It's a sad story, but if she knew they were going to take her, maybe she's had threats and she didn't want to go with them. And if that's the case, she jumped, failed, and she probably was alive. But when it takes an hour for you to get to the hospital, 30 minutes before you're being treated, she looked like a small woman. That kind of fall could be life ending. And whatever her injuries were bad enough that she didn't make it. So it sounds like maybe head trauma, blunt head trauma, and some internal bleeding probably if she fell from that height. It's very unfortunate. Very unfortunate. So, we'll see if there's any developments in the coming weeks. I'll do another episode about it. But whoever was behind this, they were likely going to take her with them. This was a targeted attack. That means they went past the other units on the other floors. They specifically were going for her. And I don't think it was anything in her apartment worth value that they're going to break in there and go through all that trouble. She was probably the most valuable thing in the apartment. And in that region, kidnappings are common. So she was likely going to go with them, and she chose to take her chances with the rail. It doesn't, but again, they don't have any video camera. There's no footage. There's no infrastructure. So you kind of just got to take people's word for it. Or if nobody was there to watch, give it a bad account. And it doesn't seem like this guy knows anything. The FTT is busy as hell, but there's no one going to hold them accountable. So what do they care? That's a sad story for a beautiful reporter. Journalists are very hard to come by nowadays. It's a very, very dangerous profession to get into. Like and subscribe, share the video if you have any streaming. You're more than welcome to tune in. The Single Boyfriend on YouTube, if you don't mind following over there. Cash apps below. Go make a donation. I appreciate your support. Thank you to all my new followers.
I've been needing to find a new apartment, which has not been easy with credit as bad as mine. Luckily, I found cosigning.com. They connected me with a cosigner who helped me get my dream apartment for me and my dog. I just paid a small fee and was able to move in fast. Get the cosigner you need for the apartment you want. Check out